Before we dive into the tutorial, there are a few important things you need to know about installing and setting up Winlator, and they'll save your time and frustration later on. Like most emulators, Winlator needs a reasonably powerful phone if you want things to run smoothly, especially when it comes to 3D games. Now, Winlator works noticeably better on Snapdragon processors. That's because Snapdragon devices support the Turnip graphics driver, a special driver that gives a serious performance boost. If you're using a similarly tiered chip from another brand like Exynos or MediaTek, don't expect the same smooth results. The performance just won't be on the same level. If you're not sure what processor your phone has, no worries. You can install a free app called CPU-Z. Open it up and it'll tell you the exact model of your CPU. You can also check your GPU renderer on this app. For example, I'm using a Snapdragon 730 with an Adreno 618 GPU. It's a bit older, from 2019, so it's considered low-end by today's standards. One quick heads up, if you're using a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 device, Winlator might not run properly. It's not yet optimized for Qualcomm's newest chip, so keep that in mind. As for RAM, having at least 6GB is ideal if you're aiming to play 3D titles. If you've got less, you can still run lighter or older 2D games, just don't expect flawless performance. And just so we are on the same page, most of this tutorial was recorded on my low-end phone that I just mentioned, except for the intro gameplay footage. So what you'll see in this video is more like the minimum performance you can expect. If your phone is stronger than mine, you'll likely get better visuals and smoother gameplay. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started with the actual setup. First, go to the Winlator's official GitHub repository. A quick Google search for Winlator GitHub Brunodev86 should get you there easily. Unfortunately, since YouTube has disabled this channel's advanced features for no clear reason, I can't share any links directly in the video description. I'll explain more about this situation at the end of the video. So once you're on the repository page, scroll down and tap on the latest release of Winlator. A new page will open. Scroll down again and tap the Winlator APK to begin downloading. After the APK file is downloaded, open it up and tap Install. When the installation is complete, tap Done. Before running Winlator for the first time, you'll want to have your Windows games ready. Open your preferred file manager, go to internal storage, and create a folder to store your games. In my case, I made one called Windows Games. I already copied two games from my PC here, Assassin's Creed 2 and Shovel Knight. Just a quick heads up, you won't be able to run the full Steam client or your entire Steam library. Your best bet is to use DRM-free game files, like the ones from GOG Galaxy. Or if you're fine with risking getting scurvy, there are other ways. Alright, let's launch Winlator. On first launch, a loading screen will show up. Wait for it to install system files. Once that's done, it's time to set up a container. To get started, tap the plus icon in the top right corner. For screen size, choose based on your device's capabilities. If you're using older hardware like mine, pick a lower resolution. Something like 800 by 600 works well. But if you've got a newer phone, the default settings should be just fine. Next up, let's pick the graphics driver. If you're using an Adreno GPU, go ahead and select Turnip. For any other GPU, choose Virgil. Now let's talk about the DX wrapper. If you're aiming for better performance in DirectX 9 to 11 games, use DXVK. If you want the best compatibility, WimeD3D is a safe bet. For DirectX 12 games, VKD3D is your best option. And if you're playing any Command and Conquer titles, definitely pick CNC DDraw. Be sure to turn on Show FPS so you can monitor your frame rate while gaming. Next, under Wine Configuration tab, you can go ahead and switch to dark mode if you prefer that look. And also feel free to set a desktop wallpaper to make things feel more personal. Now let's point Winlator to your game folder. Head over to the drive section. Next to the D drive, tap the folder icon, then choose Open Directory. Navigate to the folder where you saved your Windows games, and once you're there, tap Use this folder. After that, go into the Advanced tab. Here's where you'll choose your Box64 preset. I recommend starting with Intermediate. Even if you're using a low-end device, it usually gives the best compatibility. If the game boots well, you can later switch to Performance mode for better FPS. Leave Processor Affinity on default. When you're done, tap the check mark to save everything. In order to add your games, first run the container. Once Windows boots up, File Explorer will open up. Then you want to check the D drive where your games should appear. Now this is where we're going to create shortcuts. Shortcuts in Winlator are basically quick launch buttons. They let you jump straight into your games without opening the container every single time. Here's why that matters. Every time you want to launch a game without a shortcut, you'd have to manually start the container and dig through the folders to find your game. And honestly, that gets old fast. Plus, some games like Cuphead actually crash if you launch the usual way, but work perfectly if you use a shortcut. So creating shortcuts not only saves you hassle, but usually ensures better game stability. Now let's go ahead and create those shortcuts. Navigate to the game's executable file. For example, I'm going for Shovel Knight. Right click on the executable and select Create Shortcut. Now I want to also repeat this process for Assassin's Creed 2. Some games require extra software. For example, Assassin's Creed 2 needs Uplay installed. I already have the setup file ready, so I'm installing that now. Before we move on, here are a few quick tips to make sure everything runs smoothly. First, you don't need to install DirectX yourself. Winlator already has it built in. To check if it's working properly, just open the Start menu, go to System Tools, and click on Test DirectX. If you see a spinning cube, you're good to go. Next, some games might require .NET Framework. You can install it easily by going to the Start menu, selecting System Tools, then Installers, and choosing Wine Mono. And finally, if your game needs HTML support, you can also install Wine Gecko from that same menu. Once you've finished, exit the container. Now tap the menu icon and head over to the Shortcuts tab. All your shortcuts should appear here neatly, ready to go. And don't forget, you can tweak container settings individually for each game. For example, for Assassin's Creed 2, I prefer to lower the resolution down to 640 by 360. Set the Box64 preset to intermediate for better compatibility, and select the virtual gamepad option for the controls. Now let's launch the game. Since I'm on a low-end device, the first thing I'll do is lower all graphics settings. If you're wondering why the intro looked buttery smooth and this part feels, well, choppy, it's because that intro was recorded on my PC at a clean 60 FPS. I even put a tiny disclaimer just to be fair. But now everything's pixelated, the text looks like it's been through a blender, and I'm barely pulling 10 to 15 FPS. So the takeaway is, the better and more high-end your phone is, the better performance you're going to get. And if you're using a low-end phone like mine, performance is going to take a hit. Winlator is good, but it's not pulling off miracles here. Now for the controller settings. As you can see, I don't have the right analog stick on my touchscreen. In order to customize the controls, first open the menu and go to Input Controls. Tap the gear icon, then choose your input profile. In this video, I'm going with Virtual Gamepad. Now hit Controls Editor. Want to remove a button? Just tap it and then hit the trash icon. Need to add one? Tap the plus icon, drag it where you want, and tap the gear icon to set it up. Under type, pick what kind of button it is, like a stick or D-pad or etc. And one tip, I usually bind it to gamepad, not keyboard. It usually works better with most games. Once done, go back and make sure to activate the profile you just edited. Here's a great little shortcut. Some games already have ready-made input profiles you can use. For example, Shovel Knight has one that works really well. To use it, just go into the input controls menu, then open the input profile section. From there, find and select the game you're playing. Once you've done that, just back out, activate the profile, and hit OK. That's it. No need to manually set up your controls from scratch. You can also use an external controller. First connect it to your device, then go to Input Controls, scroll down to External Controller section, and your controller should appear. Just remember, you should map the buttons manually. Alright, time for the awkward part of the video. The part where I pretend I'm not asking for help, but also totally am. So here's the deal. YouTube randomly took away my advanced features with the explanation that my channel doesn't have sufficient quote-unquote channel history and may not have followed the community guidelines, but they didn't point to anything specific, and to be honest, I've always made sure my content follows the rules. Still, the channel ended up being demonetized and I can't add any links in the description anymore, not even to important resources and tools I mentioned in the tutorials. This restriction is expected to last for at least 2 months. Now I'm not entirely sure if this is related, but since I'm based in Iran, it's possible some of these limitations are influenced by broader sanctions or even recent conflicts in the region. Internet access here often depends on VPNs, and during times of political tension, online services can behave unpredictably, which might have affected how YouTube sees my account because I had to use different IPs in order to connect to the internet in a short period of time. So instead, I'm putting this QR code right here on the screen. If you feel like tipping the channel, that'd be awesome. If scanning QR codes isn't your thing, you can also head over to my channel's homepage. The donation link is right there at the top. Either way, if this video saved you hours of frustration, maybe throw a coffee on my way or a whole GPU.